Stugotz, she's going to be defending her title at WrestleMania 39, April 1st and 2nd in Los Angeles. It is crazy to see how giant wrestling has gotten. Her father is one of the reasons it has gotten this kind of large.
He's the reason.
WWE SmackDown every Friday night on Fox. Thank you, Stugotz. Yes, he's one of the reasons.
Great kiss-ass move.
Great kiss-ass move. He's the only reason
Just
wrestling
Rick,
has been successful. But Charlotte, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I think he'd tell you he's the reason.
Thank you. Thank you. I know my friend Ric Flair.
I don't imagine that you had any other choice but to be a wrestler, and yet from the time that you were young, my guess is there weren't many avenues to think that you could be a wrestler.
No, I actually never thought about it, and I wasn't really a fan growing up. I got into it because of my little brother. I wanted to help him kind of get on the right path. He passed away almost 10 years ago from a drug overdose, but he's the one that kind of set me on this course, not my dad. Well, just I wasn't really into the divas back then, and I was just a fan of my dad. So, I mean, that sounds crazy. Maybe it's because I didn't really think about it or have dreams, that I didn't know what to expect when I started.
When did you realize it was for you, or a possibility or a career, if you weren't thinking about it as a child, even as you saw it around you?
The Four Horsemen Hall of Fame induction in 2012 was in Miami. And they were trying to hire my brother at the time. And the producer who was with us at dinner was like, "Why aren't you doing this?" And I was like, "Oh, I never really thought about it." And my brother was like, "You could do it. You could do it with me. We could move to Tampa, start with FCW, which is now NXT at the time." And I was like, "Well, I'm not doing much of my life, just personal training." And 3 months later, I reported to FCW thinking I was going to meet my brother in Tampa, and the rest is history. It's crazy. No, like really, it just happened over dinner at the hotel.
And just like that, you'd never considered it before that, and it was just a way to get closer to your brother?
No, I never considered it. I mean, it's hard when your dad's Ric Flair, and I wasn't really into wrestling growing up. So no, it was really just to be with my brother, and then I fell in love with it when I started.
Did you hate wrestling because it was always taking him away as well? Like, I imagine he wasn't around very much because the schedule was so crazy and grueling.
No, my dad made a great effort to be at anything he could be when he was home. Like, it was much later in his career when my brother and I were born versus my older brother and sister. No, there was no resentment. I wasn't into it. To be honest, I just wasn't my thing.
You were busy dominating volleyball, right? I mean, everyone knows that.
But like my brothers were into it. Like my little brother Reed wanted to be literally the next Ric Flair. I just was like, "Oh my gosh, that's my dad. Hey guys, let's go. Like my dad's wrestling tonight." I would take like the volleyball team, like more to like show off that my dad's Ric Flair, not necessarily like I want to do this.
Were you good at it from the moment that you started 3 months after dinner, or were you bad at it?
Athletically, yes. The showmanship and a character and charisma, absolutely terrible. Like that took a while. Like I still think that's what I think about all the time. Like, what can I get better at? Obviously, promos I find to be the most challenging. Character work, like that did not come natural to me at all. Well, because it's also like I'm Ric Flair's daughter. How do you acknowledge that, but it also not overshadow you? And it's 10 years of having a chip on my shoulder, you know?
Did Rick make fun of you for being so bad at it at the beginning?
Oh, he was so proud.
I know.
No, have you heard my dad? It's so I could do no wrong.
He is so ridiculously
like
proud.
fan.
It's crazy. He just breaks down weeping when he talks about you for 10 seconds.
I'm fully aware. I know it's terrible.
It's awesome.
No, I mean, like what I will say is when I first started, obviously the women weren't looked at in the same light as they are now. So he didn't really know what to expect. So like the first 2 years, not until he realized like, oh, wow, like women's wrestling is much different than when he was active, and the landscape was changing. And obviously like, yeah, it's just different.
And I think what symbolized that most for me was your entrance in WrestleMania in 2019 in New York when you flew in a helicopter. Was there like a moment where you realized, like, not only is the women's division getting a level of respect, but this is badass. This is really cool, and it's completely changing the way that this sport is being viewed. And you had a part to play in it.
Well, it's like all I could think about was I used to sit front row and watch my dad and have no idea what he meant to the industry. And then here I am main eventing the biggest show of the year, which no one would have, if you said 5 years or 6 years ago, women would never main event WrestleMania, ever. Or Raw, women just wouldn't be a primary storyline. Like, no. But to think that I did that, and with who my dad is, it's sometimes like I still don't like believe it's happened. It's like, damn, I'm really doing all this.
Did any part of you worry a little bit about your dad last year at 73 deciding, let's have one last match. Let's just do this one more time?
I know, but how can you tell him no?
Well, that's the thing.
What makes him sick, Mm-hmm. And I think because he was, I wasn't a fan of it, but you can't tell him no. And if he's going to do it, then you might as well support him 100%.
Well, part of it could be your fault, right? Because you've been so successful and you're racking up championships that he's like, you know what? I got to keep going.
He's like, you can't break my record.
Exactly right. I can't let Charlotte
I need a new record.
Me. Yeah.
But and you know what he'll say? He'll be like, actually, the real record is 21. I'm sure he'll, because I won a title in somewhere that wasn't televised. No, he would never do that. He wants me
classic Nate.
No, he's like, you're breaking this record. My dad, give me time.
How does it look to you when you go back through the old promos of your father and look back at the prism of how terrible you were at it at the beginning? And he's a natural, and Nate, as Stugotz calls him, and he's one of the best to ever do the wrestling character. I got to imagine that was a bit intimidating to see where you were, to think about it at that dinner. I can't do that, and then unleash a show woman.
Well, I try not to compare what I do on the mic to him, because you can't. But I think that's something that motivates me to be better, because that's what so many people tuned in to see with my dad. It's like his trash talking. So how do I trash talk, but in a way that is special to Charlotte's character, whether that's, just being the most arrogant person on the planet, or like, obviously I'm not going to be screaming like Macho Man, or like with my voice, it's just, it's different. But knowing that that's how my dad kept so many people captivated for so many years, that I knew I was going to need to be good at that, to make a mark in this industry, to be remembered as one of the greats, just not men or women.
Can you summon it on a moment's whim? Like, if someone needs you to promote April 1st and 2nd in Los Angeles, you headlining WrestleMania 39, do you have to go and get into character, summon some Daniel Day-Lewis in order to promote that correctly? Be filled with a fuel of rage? What do you have to go do in order to promote that correctly? Why should people be watching you in the main event?
Because I am the main event. I am the main event. There wouldn't be a main event without Charlotte Flair. No, so like with my dad, he is Ric Flair inside and outside of the ring, and that's something for me is like when I have the opportunity to do these shows and introduce who I am, it's like, well, do you pretend to be Charlotte Flair? Because it's so different than it was in the 80s. Like, my dad lives the gimmick. Like you'll see, like I'll sprinkle in the character, but I don't think it translates the same way. Like, I might say, yeah, I am the main event. I'm the greatest of all time. Rhea Ripley's going to bow down to me April 1st. Like, that's just, yes.
No, but you're right. Your father at some point along the path morphed into the character so that you can no longer tell them apart. That's who he is in public all the time. He's never not Ric Flair.
He's never not Ric Flair. 100%.
Is it, and I ask this respectfully, is it fun to be an asshole? Like, just say, like, you know what? I can really turn it on right now. I can't act like this in real life, but on screen, man, I can say some stuff.
Yes, it's fun. Well, yes, it's fun. Well, to me, it's just easier. Like, well, from my experience, like, my dad's Ric Flair. I come from a legacy. I'm bigger, faster, stronger. Like, it's just hard to be like me. I'm relatable. Like, it's harder to be nice. Like, how do you?
Well, you have to turn it up.
How do you say that humbly?
Yeah, like I would assume you have to turn it up and be like, you know what? That wasn't far enough. Let me go further.
No, yeah, that I need to say more.
Are you saying you'd struggle to be a babyface? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, you think?
But
that is harder.
But when you came back, you got a great reception when you came back. Like, fans like this from you.
So now my mindset is, I'm not a good guy. I'm not a bad guy. I'm the woman. Like, just what would, like, I don't really, I spent so many years trying to get people to boo me. And now with the reception with the fans and them, like, just being so excited to see me, I just try not to overthink it. Like, I think they want to see me be arrogant now. Like, they want to cheer that.
Did you go through?
They don't want me to be corny. Like, they just want me to be me. And that's what it's more of like a respect thing because of everything that I've done within the industry.
Did you go through a period where you worried that you were too likable? You had to like, shove a child or something?
I never went through a period where I thought I was too likable. No.
Charlotte, you mentioned that your dad is always your dad. What is the greatest example of the most mundane thing that you did in your life in which your father was dialing it up to 100% Ric Flair?
Pass the salt.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, like, he still woos at the end of our phone calls.
That's such a great sign off. Oh my God.
That is how he says, I love you.
I don't know. Like, I do remember, like, there was one time my dad was really mad at me and my little brother. We were in the car, and I remember him, like, slamming his hand on the center console. He's like, damn it, I'm Ric Flair. And I'm like, so? What does that mean to me?
It doesn't mean anything to you.
I like the sign off on the.
I
like the sign off on the phone. Like, hey, by the way, we ran out of milk. Don't forget to pick some up. Woo!
Oh yes. Like, I could go through my tweets, or not my tweets, my text messages.
Wait, text it.
I'm sure I've got some woos.
Can you read all of them?
Let's go ahead and read. Let's read with Charlotte Flair some text messages from Dad. I'd like to read some of those as we promote April 1st and 2nd in Los Angeles, WrestleMania 39. She's defending her title. She's a 14-time Women's World Champion. She's WWE. She's held the WWE Diva Championship. What else is on there? Let's see what we got. What do you have for us?
For April 1st?
No, on your text.
Yeah.
We want
on my text.
I'm
looking at Saturday morning after SmackDown.
Mm-hmm.
My dad texts me, I love you, Angel. You rocked last night. You're the GOAT. Emoji, emoji, emoji with a bicep. And then he sends me a picture of the boat he wants. 70 knots is 84 miles per hour. I'll know tomorrow. Fingers crossed.
Classic Nate. I mean,
Did he get it? I mean,
that's him with the boat. I'm like, thanks for letting me know the speed, Dad.
He is crazy, crazy proud of you, though. It seems very much like he is made happier by the things that you're doing by leaps and bounds than anything he did.
I think so. Yeah. He tells me all the time, like, you're my greatest accomplishment. So I just hope I make him proud.
did he buy the boat or did he want you to buy the boat?
So the next text, I'm not buying him the boat. He goes, it didn't pass the inspection with a frown face. And I just completely disregarded that.
Was there a sad woo that came after that?
No.
Is there a moment, right, whether it's winning Royal Rumble in 2020, is there any one moment inside or outside of wrestling when you put it at the top of the list of how is this my life? In 2012, I wasn't even thinking about this. How is this here? Why is this here? You can't make up the place that I've just arrived.
Yeah, I think I kind of deal with that now because I'm like, wait, I've done all this. What's next? Like, I wasn't really sure what I was working towards. It was all just continuing my brother's dream, right? So, like, I spent so much time trying to protect him and help him and get him on the right path when, like, really he set me on this course that I could have never imagined. So sometimes when it's all like over at the end of the night, I'm like, well, what am I fighting for now? Like, what's next? Like, I still feel like I have something to prove, but I don't really know what that next big thing is because I never thought I would have accomplished all this. It's just because I worked hard and I happen to be good at it. Not like wasn't 16 and was like, I'm gonna be the last Divas champion, or I'm gonna be the first woman to main event WrestleMania, or I'm gonna be the first woman to main event Raw, SmackDown, pay-per-views and WrestleMania. Like all these things just keep happening. I'm just like, why did I get to be so fortunate? And he never got to see me do any of it. I don't know. It's like one of those things, I guess it just keeps me ticking.
Well, when you talk about love, family, and spirituality, can you explain to us what it feels like to you to embody when you're talking about, women's championship, a record 7 times, Raw Women's Championship, SmackDown 7 times, and Raw Women's Championship 6 times?
It just goes everywhere with me.
Yes. When you're living, you're living the life your brother wanted, and you were willing at the time. You were going to move just to be with him, to share life with him, to protect him. Yeah. You were scared for him. Why were you going to move your life to be next to him?
Well, he had a really bad drug addiction, and I thought that if I somewhat started what he wanted to, that it would get him motivated, almost like jealous in a way. Like, my sister's doing this, I've got to do it too. I've got to be better. I've got to stay on the right course. So when I started, he still didn't pass the test. And then he went off to Japan, started wrestling in Japan, and they brought him home from Japan to see me for the first time at WrestleMania Access, almost a year after I signed. And he passed away that night when they brought him home to see me wrestle for the first time. So like ever since then, I just like think it's going to be that first time he sees me.
You must think of him and it often, right? Given your path,
well, not as much. I mean, yes, not like when I first started. But like to this day, I'll always just think like I get to do this because of him, and I'm so grateful.
WWE SmackDown every Friday night on Fox, and again, defending her title, WrestleMania 39, headlining. How many people will be there? There is no fear.
80,000.
There is
no big deal.
Yeah, but this isn't. Is this something that scares you anymore, or now you're just natural at it?
No. What scares me is a small crowd of 1,000.
Let me tell you
500 people would scare me.
When you can see everyone's facial expression, that's the scary place.
Exactly.
It needs to be
like,
scene.
Why are you looking at me looking under way? Yeah.
Put it on the poll, please, Juju, at LeBatard Show. Do you imagine it's scarier being seen by 500 people performing or 80,000 people performing?
Oh, I know it is. I've done it before. I've actually wrestled in front of a crowd of 11 in Tampa. So, yeah.
So this is a very exciting day for me because finally we have someone who shares the passion of volleyball that I share. Okay. I love, I mean, you're a big time volleyball player, which I'm assuming you're a big time volleyball fan, as am I. And so I have my top 5 volleyball players of all time, and I would like to run that list past you.
But why are you doing this?
Well, because she's a big-time volleyball player.
Yeah, I would just say Gabrielle Reese takes my top spot.
Really? She's third on my list. I mean, hold on.
Well, you got to wait. You can't. Well, listen, here's his list. He's going to name a bunch of names here that are his top 5.
Couple of volleyball fans cutting it up.
Go ahead. I did not know you were a volleyball fan. Number 5.
Steve Timmons.
Number 4.
Karch Karai.
Wow.
Number 3.
Gabby Reese.
Number 2.
Kerry Walsh Jennings.
Number 1.
Misty May Trainer.
No Chase Buttinger?
How about that?
That's fair.
Thank you.
Fair?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
Fair?
Yep. What are your top 5, Dan?
I don't. When did you become a
I don't even have a top 5.
The 84 Olympics. I mean.
Thank you, Charlotte. We appreciate your time.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Top 5 is a bit of a stretch.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, hold on now.
Yeah.
I feel like we've stumbled upon something.
It's a
Right
bit
here.
of a stretch. It is.
It's a bit of a stretch.
Jim Brown.
Overrated lacrosse player? Is that what you're saying?
Well, yes. He grew up in the town right next door to me, Manhasset, New York. Jim Brown was just a better athlete than everyone on the lacrosse field.
Okay. All right. Sorry.
Okay.
All right. Now this is okay. I'm not buying this. Hold on. Because he's a better athlete doesn't mean he's one of the great lacrosse players of all time.
I would say that he's maybe a top 50 lacrosse player of all.
Top 50?
Maybe.
Name 49 better than him.
Gary Gate, Paul Gate, Rodney Dumpson. I mean,
no way. Gary Gate was
Scott
compiler.
Pacigalupo. I mean,
we are one day out of
Adam
Black History Month,
Doniger,
and here we are.
Rodney Dumpson. I said Rodney Dumpson, Billy Owens. I mean,
Rodney Dumpson got to be black, right?
That's why I stressed that back too much.
I was called racist today, Juju.
Rodney Dumpson scored one of the biggest goals in lacrosse history.
I want.
Yet everyone talks about Jim Brown.
Stugotz basically is mad because the sport isn't dominated by people like that physically look like him, because Jim Brown was kind of great at everything.
Jim Brown was out here just demolishing the competition. Stugotz was like, you know what? He's not that skilled. It's just he's like Shaq. He's like, oh, he's just bigger than everybody else. No, man, we're not gonna sit here for this. Ain't that right, Juju?
Jim Brown is overrated.
I mean, I just said Rodney Dumpson. I just said Keith Owens. I mean, what?
You said Billy Owens, actually.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's a fine.
Syracuse.
I mean, Billy Owens played. Well, no,
Syracuse.
because they both played at Syracuse.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes, they both played at Syracuse.
This is lacrosse, Billy. It's a sports show.
It's
Maybe you don't
all
want to give
of
it the
us,
program.
Billy. It's all of us confused.
Talking about Stugotz's neighbors and what they
Kevin
did.
Lowe. I mean,
to prove that Jim Brown was overrated as an athlete in lacrosse.
Well, also a lacrosse player.
And also Jeff Bushler, one of the great volleyball players of all time.
When did you become a big volleyball guy, by the way? Just
84
incidentally.
Olympics. 84, yeah. Volleyball had a run in this country, 84 to like 86.
You had the same reaction I did, Billy, right? Why did he
She liked it.
That was maximum sucking up with lies to Charlotte Flair.
What
the audience got
You don't remember the 84 United States volleyball team?
What the audience just got to hear was Stugotz maximum trying to butter up with fraud Charlotte Flair by trying to connect with her wherever she was at.
But it was it's also like it saw on a sheet that she played volleyball. No. So it doesn't mean like you're a big volleyball fan.
No, you know what?
Watch it all
You
the
guys
time.
always blame Stugotz. You say he doesn't do any work.
She had Gabby at number 1.
He reads the internet wrong. He doesn't do any research. Just shows in and farts on the show. The guy took the time to burn the calorie to learn about Charlotte Flair. By the way, her name's Ashley. I don't know if you guys knew that.
Why didn't you drop that in the interview? Why
because
didn't you say, hey, Ash?
Stugotz was handling it really well, and I was really proud of him of doing his homework and coming with a very relevant question. You know what it reminded me of? Of the time we had Vince Gilligan, and I got him excited about Gilligan's
Go sit
Island.
in the penalty box.
Mike Schur,
you know what? Dan doesn't like.
I'll sit with you.
Yes, there you go.
Black History Month is over. Oh my God!
Excellent work by both of you. Go sit. Go volunteering to take time off.
Yeah,
the
it seems like they
Stugotz
just don't wanna
experience.
do it.
Yeah, they don't. Well,
I just worked really hard on my top 5 volleyball
please,
players.
Get
of all
out
time.
of here. I tried to wave off Stugotz, saying
Who's coming
just
with
you
us?
two.
Stand against this tyrant.
You know, sometimes you do something to make the guest happy.
We are
she gave us a
joined
lot,
by a smug ostrich right now. He's Mike Schur. He's
Tired
getting
of him.
lit up by the internet and the looks like game. Him and Jer Bear. You can come back in a second to talk about Simmons and yell at him for going on the Simmons podcast to complain about the Miami Heat. But let's do our
Ghost in the attic.
I got you. Thank you. Good seeing you. He just volunteered for the penalty box. This was the hard work Stugotz did today. He read on the sheet, she likes volleyball. And then he shows me a top 5 list, and I'm like, why are you going to do that? No one listening is going to know any of those names. Yeah, but
she's not going to know any of those names.
Everyone knows those names. Are you kidding? You don't know Misty May Trainer, Dan?
Those names. It was the first.
Karch Karai?
I saw you really engaged in his top 5 list, Jessica, because you were roaring with laughter. We were trying to play the same game that we play with Mike Schur all the time with the 90s baseball cards, but he wanted to do it with 80s volleyball players.
And
it was terrible. And it was a terrible place to try and connect with her. She didn't know what he was talking about. She was humoring him. She said his list was fine. It was a crud list.
well, you can make your own list.
I don't want to make my own list. Why would I make a list of top 5 volleyball players?
Dan's not a
Volleyball
big
is one of the
volleyball
most
guy.
exciting sports in the country, and it's growing incredibly fast right now. Plus, we have a volleyball coach on our staff, Dan. You're being very dismissive of volleyball.
Steve Timmons. You want to talk about Steve Timmons? You want to spend a lot of time talking about him?
I'd rather talk about Misty May and Carrie Walsh, although they're beach volleyball, so I don't know if that. I mean, it's volleyball, but
You know, Misty May was married to the Marlins' former backup catcher, Matt Trainer.
That's right.
She was at games all the time. It was kind of cool.
That
It
is
was like at
cool.
her height too. It's like, what are you doing here?
Yes,
she's
Matt.
very tall.
Matt Trainer didn't feel great about his shadow, the shadow
Really?
that he lived in, being better than him at sports.
Is that true?
I love when we have a guest on for 6 minutes and they haven't spoken yet, and they're just staring at us on Zoom.
All right, there it is. There he is.
Wondering why he was being called an
The
ostrich.
Smug Ostrich Mike Schur joins us now. Let's do stat of the day as he goes on other podcasts and talks about the Miami Heat with Bill Simmons, and we'll rip him for that in a second.
Start of the day, start of the day. It is your start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day. It is your start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day. It is your start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day. It is your start of the day.
Thank you for turning original sound on so I could hear the music today.
No problem, Mike.
Real quick, volleyball is one of the most exciting sports in America.
Yeah,
You're
have
just
you
gonna
ever
let that
watched it?
slide?
I'm with her. It's great.
I have.
Thank you.
It's great sport. Every time I watch indoor volleyball, I'm like, why don't I watch this more?
I don't
Maybe
understand.
because it's essentially the same thing over and over again forever.
I mean,
What
could
are
you
you
say that about
like-
baseball?
Yeah, and
You're a
basketball.
baseball fan. You don't get to decide what's exciting and what's not exciting.
I'm not saying you have to think baseball is exciting. I'm saying if I said baseball is one of the most exciting sports in America, I would get
It
a
would
lot
be
of
a
shit
lie.
for it.
I like baseball too, by the way.
Fair.
But don't come at volleyball's neck, all right? You know, I
Dan looks
guarantee you don't watch
defeated.
volleyball.
What happened?
It's been a
what
rough
happened
one.
in the last hour? You
Been a
look like
rough day.
Dan looks like he wants to just give up and go like sail away on a boat and never come back.
Ric Flair's boat. Oh, he didn't get it in pass inspection.
It's just Stugotz and a mean being maximum Stugotz and a mean. That's all. What is the stat of the day today?
NFL playoff wins, folks. Let's talk NFL playoff wins. Patrick Mahomes last year, 3 wins in the playoffs. Blake Bortles in his career, 2 wins in the playoffs. The entire Detroit Lions franchise since the year 1958, 1 win in the playoffs.
Yes. That's pretty good.
I don't know why I decided to look that up yesterday, but they have 1 playoff win since 1958.
We have lost sight of how bad the Detroit Lions have been at football for
And Mike
an
Schur
unfathomable amount of time.
has the audacity, along with Bill Simmons, to complain about how the Boston Red Sox have had 4 bad years. Get over yourselves. Get over.
I did not complain about it. No, listen to me. This is important. I did not complain about it. In fact, I called him out for complaining about it. If you actually listen to the podcast, I made fun of him for saying he actually said it's that he was complaining that they hadn't won a World Series since 2018, and I was like, you're out of your mind. Like this is
we did
insane
this
for
with
anyone,
Mookie
especially
Betts. We
Red
did
Sox
this with
fans.
Bogarts. We did this with Devers. Enough. There are Detroit Lions fans out there in the world. That's sports struggle.
I agree. I don't disagree with you.
Okay, him and
I'm just
Simmons,
saying.
they come from sports
Go
privilege,
ahead.
the two of them. No, I mean, it's annoying.
Well,
the two of
no,
you.
I don't think they come from sports privilege because, if you're a Red Sox fan, that's a fairly torturous existence. It's just more that, never getting over the complex that you were once a Red Sox fan and your life has completely changed.
Until it wasn't. It was a complex until it wasn't. They dominated. They came back from 3-0 against the Yankees. They needed to stop with their ghosts in the attic.
So their children now come from sports privilege. If they were born after
Correct.
2000, they did not. That makes sense.
Correct. My son is one of the most sports privileged human beings on earth. He's 15. He was born in the year 2008. He was born at a moment where the Red Sox were the reigning champions. They won in 2013. They won in 2018. The Celtics also won the year he was born. The Bruins have won the Stanley Cup. The Patriots won 4 or 5 or 6 Super Bowls. I can't even remember. He doesn't. And he then became a Dodgers fan, and the Dodgers won. he has no understanding of what it means to experience pain.
Well, what is happening, Whittingham? Because before you were on here, Schur, Billy was saying that Whittingham and the others don't talk to you the way they talk about you when you're not here, because they were annoyed.
Really?
They were annoyed by whatever it is that you said on Bill Simmons' podcast, whatever it is that happened there. And Stugotz, if he wasn't in the penalty box, would tell you that he's annoyed that you even went on the podcast.
But when you come on, it's just I named my cat after you and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm not. Did I do something to make this happen? I'm just sitting here. Talk to me about whatever you want to talk to me about. All I'm saying is that when I went on Simmons, he was complaining. He's a little older than I am, and he has more pain in his past. He remembers 78 in a way that I don't. He remembers 75 in a way that I don't, a little bit. So he has more angst about that stuff than I do. And I called him out for it. I said, this is ridiculous what you're saying.
In general, the two of you are so traumatized by whatever it is the Heat have done to you in general that you are afraid. You're publicly lamenting this loud fear of the Miami Heat because you don't trust that your team is better, that your Boston Celtics are better than the Miami Heat are.
I am objectively looking at the Miami Heat season, and I am reporting a fear that not only Celtics fans should have, that every team in the East should have. The Bucks should have it. The Sixers should definitely have it, given how locked up they were by the Heat defense the other night in a 101-99 miserable slog of a game that was 19-17 in the fourth quarter. This isn't Celtics based. This is the league should be on notice. We've now gotten to a very weird place where I pay more attention to and care more about the Miami Heat than anyone in your little shipping container over there, which is a very weird feeling.
Wow.
I mean, Mike Schur called Bill Simmons old.
Things got tense back here off mic. Someone in the corner just screamed, "What the fuck? I am a reporter for the team."
Why don't we talk about it?
Wow, why don't we talk about it? Jeez, someone's going to rename their cat. Yeah.
Do we want to have Mike Schur argue with Jeremy Taché, Jer Bear? Do we want that argument right now?
Except for Jeremy, who do you think has watched the most Miami Heat games of anyone on this Zoom right now this year?
I would say you outnumber all of us combined. The rest of us combined.
That's all I'm saying.
I've seen a decent amount. I've seen a decent amount.
Fast, my friend.
Okay, that's Juju somewhere in the shadows over there. But regardless, you've been lamenting that they play ugly basketball for a while, and yet you're terrified that they're going to beat you with it, even though they're not as talented as you are.
Yes. Why is that hard to understand or controversial? They play every game they play is a 2-point game, no matter who the competition is, whether it's the Rockets and they went on a last-second lob with 0.3 left, or it's the 76ers. Everyone between the Rockets and the 76ers who plays the Heat ends up in a 2-point game in the fourth quarter. Isn't that a team that anyone should logically fear playing in the playoffs?
No, the Boston Celtics are a great deal better than the Miami Heat. Why do we live rent-free in your head?
It doesn't matter. So are the Sixers. And yet they lost by 2 the other night.
In a one-off game, the Heat won, but over the course of a 7-game series, you should back your team. Why are you afraid of this team?
What do you mean? Why am I afraid of the team?
They're not good. They have a negative point differential.
Look at the teams that they have beaten over the course of the year. Look at the games they have played. If we played the 76ers, I would be like a little bit scared because they're a good team and Embiid is a massive force in the that's essentially unstoppable. But I would say, look, over 7 games, I think the Celtics are better. I think the Celtics are going to win. The Heat are this weird succubus that drain the life force out of the team that they're playing and drag them down into this swampy bog of zone defense and misery and free throw shooting. And that is a wild card that I don't understand and I can't make myself be confident if the Celtics or any team are playing the Heat. And I think we're heading for a really weird playoff system in the East, a playoff series in the East where the Heat are like a 6 or a 7 and they end up playing Boston or Philly or Milwaukee if Milwaukee has an injury or something and slips a little bit. And I would absolutely favor the Heat in that first round series right now. That's how much they scare me.
Over the Celtics? You would favor the Heat over the Celtics?
I would be genuine. I would say it would be like 51-49 Celtics over Heat in a 7-game series.
Like the end. Like if this were the NCAA tournament, I would be with you. I would understand the fear that the Heat can win a one-off game. But in a 7-game series, you have Jason Tatum, you have Jaylen Brown, you have all these incredible players, and you're concerned about the Miami Heat who can't hit a 3.
Yes. Yeah, no, they're terrible. They're the worst. They're like 28th, and I went through this on the Bill Simmons podcast. I don't know if you all heard, but I was on the Bill Simmons podcast the other day.
Oh, we heard.
And I went through this. They're 28th in three-point shooting. They're last in the league in scoring. They have the worst offensive net rating in the league. You know what they're good at? 3 things: steals, not turning the ball over, and hitting free throws. That's what they're good at. They're top 5 in all 3 of those categories. Everything else, they stink. And yet, every game they play is like is 94-92 in the fourth quarter with 4 minutes left. That is not a team I want to play in the playoffs. I don't care what you say. There's nothing you can say that can convince me that the Celtics or literally any team, maybe the Bucks, because the Bucks are so overwhelmingly deep and talented, maybe the Bucks have a real advantage over the Heat. No other team in the East has a real advantage over the Heat in a 7-game series. I'm telling you right now.
I miss the Mike Schur that was like cocky and braggadocious from early in the season. Right?
It's weird.
Where did that guy go?
It's just strange that you would fear this one team that's not as good at you as if you haven't watched basketball your entire life.
I'm just happy to live rent-free in his head. I said this earlier. I'm happy. You've made me more invested in this Heat season. You and Simmons talking for 20.
It's nice. It's nice that a Miami-based sports show has one person who's invested in their hometown team. I mean, why is it taking me to do this?
Well,
because
you have to win. Like
they stop paying attention when they're not very good, Mike Schur. That's how it works in this town.
I know. It's a bummer.
Mike, what'd you make of that?
By the way, Dan, I have to go. I have to say something. I have a new segment that I have to introduce on the show.
What segment? You're not allowed to just introduce new segments. You're supposed to be working.
It didn't
around
come
here
from
as
me.
an
It came from
intern.
John Skipper. Look, this comes right from the top. Okay, here's what happened. I got a memo last night from John Skipper that said, here, I'll read it. I'll just read it. It says, "Dear Mark," he knows my name. I'm sure that's an honest typo. It says, "Dear Mark, we need a new segment on the show for the NBA, kind of like Tony's top 5 for the NFL, but without so much petering in." I don't know what that means. Just discussion topics and observations. Get that going, dork boy. So I wrote back, "Hey John, Mike here."
That seems toxic. That seems
seems unnecessary.
Now say it in John's
So I wrote
voice.
back, "Hey John, Mike here. Sounds fun!" Exclamation point. But honestly, I'm only an intern. I'm already doing stat of the day and Sacramento Kings coverage, and occasionally weekend observations are back in my day. I'm a little stretched thin, especially because this isn't even my actual job. Ha ha. Maybe Chris Cody or Whitty could do it. Let me know, Mike. And then later that night, a flaming brick came through my window, and there was a note that said, "Mark, nice family you have. Would be a shame if something happened to them. Get to work." And wrapped around the brick were some very high quality black and white surveillance photos of my wife leaving her job and getting into her car. And then also of my kids at school and hanging out with their friends. And so I now present to you Mike's Tony's top 5 NBA observation questions.
Well, Mark's top 5.
Here we go. Number 5. Are the Knicks interesting?
Stugotz and Amin are dying to talk about this. Amin might think the Knicks are for real.
8-2 in their last 10, beat the Celtics. Shouting distance to 4th place in the East. Interesting.
Are they interesting?
I told you, by the way. Didn't I tell you the last time we talked about this? I said, you said, what are the 5 teams you're worried about in the East? I said the Knicks, and you questioned me. And now look who seems like he knows what he's talking about.
Shouting distance.
Was that pre or post Josh Hart acquisition?
Pre, my friend. Pre. Number 4.
Capitulate, Dan.
Do the new Mavs look a lot like the old Mavs? Hey, Kyrie, I'm glad you're thrilled to be playing with Luka. How about you beat the Pacers at home, buddy? How about start there? How about beat the Pacers at home?
Kyrie's going to be a Laker next year, correct? I mean,
well, the cap situation isn't quite as straightforward as it once was, but that's the belief. Although on Illuminati, we posed a different theory about Kyrie and LeBron playing together.
What's Illuminati?
It's the podcast where you keep your third eye open to the stories that are beneath the surface. But I don't want to get into that. I want to hear what number 3 is. on Mark's
Number 3,
observation.
speaking of the Pacers,
Peter
Tyrese Halliburton, superstar.
He can
Oh,
shoot, man.
oh, I gave him a new nickname. The Last Hope. Because we don't have any more point guards anymore. He's the last hope.
Exactly. 20 points, 10 assists, 40% from 3. Those are superstar numbers, my friend. You know who's famous, Dan? You know who's famous? Trae Young. You know who's a better point guard? Tyrese Halliburton.
I agree.
I mean, he's
Also,
been great for them.
Little trivia. Today is Tyrese Halliburton's birthday, kind of, because he was born on Leap Day, February 29th, 2000. That's a little bonus trivia for you.
Okay, so the other day you guys were talking about what was the worst birthday you could have. And I was like, how does no one say Leap Day? Leap Day is the worst birthday because you only. So technically, he's what, like 7 years old, 6 years old?
He's 5. He's
Prodigy.
He's 4 years old.
It's unbelievable to see
4
the
years
NBA
old.
dominated from 3 by a 7-year-old. Number 2.
Is OKC gonna be okay? I think so. You know who's good, Dan? Jalen Williams. You know who's better? Jalen Williams.
Yeah.
And they both play for the Thunder.
I saw that.
Net
the other
rating.
day.
Net rating this year, plus 1.1, better than the Mavs, Clippers, Heat, and Nets. I think that team is going to be very good next year. I think they make the playoffs.
Number 1.
Number 1. Eat shit, Miami Heat. I hate you.
Wow. Okay, that was aggressive, and now things have really gone off the rails. I can't imagine what Skipper's going to do next. Thank you, Mike Schur.
I'm disappointed. I don't want to. I mean, he's obviously a professional, right? I was disappointed in the OKC one. Said is okay. What was it? Is OKC what?
Okay.
Yeah. Then you should have said we'll see.
Yeah.
But I'm not the writer. Yeah.
You're rewriting me?
Funny.
I was just saying. I mean,
Rewriting.
See you later.
Punching up the script.
See you later.
I don't take notes.
He says no notes. No notes.